April 5th, 2020 at 3 o'clock-ish p.m. Eastern Time. How are you guys all doing? I'll just hang out for a second. Got a big piece today. Got something big for you all today. Something big. So thank you guys so much for being here. This video is brought to you guys by Noble Gold. If the preppers are telling you we told you so, the financial advisors are scrambling to kind of justify their advice on your retirement funds, but it all means diddly squat at the end of the day. This isn't the time for the blame game. It's time to help each other out. And before this crisis happened, Noble Gold was helping investors to educate themselves and discover new ways of avoiding financial disaster. That's still the case, and they're offering right now to talk to you for free about what choices may still be on the table to rescue your retirement plans. They've helped hundreds of people secure their stock-backed IRAs with gold and silver to stop them from falling so hard. So it's time you get into the world of physical precious metal before it's too late. Have a chat with our team at Noble Gold. Call 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347, or you can hit the link below. That will be in the description box. Get the free investor's guide. Make sure you tell them that Tracy Beans sent you guys. Bringing in the rest of my crew here. Pulling in Periscope, DLive, Facebook. Hey, guys. Hey, in the Catskills. Hi. All right. So here's the deal. For weeks now, I've been saying that I think that this coronavirus was here way earlier than we're being told, which would mean we're way further along the curve than we thought we may have been. And so I started searching for answers in my personal friends and family, which I was able to get some evidence of this. I had a bunch of friends, actually, who were sick in November, had a weird viral pneumonia, didn't know where it came from, kind of crazy. Doctors were all saying it was like nothing they'd ever seen before. Very strange, starts off viral, turns into pneumonia. It was happening. And I posted on my Twitter account a bunch of text messages between a friend of mine and his wife as he was sitting at the doctor in November going through this. And after that was done, I kind of opened it up to the floor, where I opened it up and I said, hey guys, if you've had this happen to you and you can somehow document it, or you have text messages, or even if you just have dates, do me a favor, reach out to me. I gave the email address for tips. It's tips@uncoverdc.com. I also had my Twitter account going. I had almost 1,000 individual accounts of people who were very sick in November, December, some even late October. And so with all of that sort of unofficial, unscientific, anecdotal evidence, I started doing some investigating. And what I found is pretty stunning, and I'm going to go through some of it with you today. CDC data supports the theory of much earlier COVID-19 infection than's been reported in the media. The data shows a dramatic spike in what they call ILI, or influenza-related illness, in certain states as early as November of 2019. A number of those states appear to have already experienced a sort of curve on this and made it through to a more stable footing for this time of year as compared to other years. And another interesting thing I bring in here is the military participating in the World Games in China, Wuhan, China, between October 18th and October 27th, 2019. Their chartered flights arrive and depart from Seattle-Tacoma International Airport in Washington. Washington is in the group of the earliest states to show a spike in ILI, corresponding with this incubation period should the virus have been introduced as the military traveled through Washington to other destinations. And so here's just the background of how I started this. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry about that. I have allergies. Somebody just said, I guess China was right. It did come from the USA. Absolutely not. Quite the opposite, actually. The USA was in China, got it, and brought it back here, hypothetically speaking. I cannot prove that, but I'm going to show you some data that lends to the credibility of it. Here we are. So this is the weekly influenza surveillance report that's prepared by the CDC. And you can go all the way back here to week 41, which is in October. It ends October 2019. The CDC lists their weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 52. And if you start scrolling through the frames here, you look at Louisiana had a pretty early ILI activity level, and that is kind of a constant. But once you start getting to week 45, week 46, week 47, and week 48, you start seeing something interesting. You see Washington, Texas, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, all very high in influenza-like activity. That is defined as non-specific for influenza. They vary depending on the purpose for which they're used. A case definition is this: fever of 100 degrees or greater, oral or equivalent, and cough and or sore throat. Then what happens is doctors test their patients. Patients send the specimens to the doctors send their specimens to labs. The labs do the tests, and then the labs report to the CDC what the results are. So that allows then the CDC to create these graphs for each state and each locality depending on how they report. Okay. I just want to show you this amazing extract chart here takes all of the CDC data and plots it so that you can take a look at it graphically. So I just want to take a look at a couple states here. I'm going to pick, somebody built this for me, thank God, because I was doing it all by hand and it was absolutely insane. So here we go. Here is Texas. So it might be a little hard to see, so let me zoom in. That's about all I can do. Okay, so if you take a look, and it's going to scroll now. All right, so here we are in Texas. If you take a look in Texas here, this is 2019. This is the yellow color here is 2019. 2016 is down here. 2018 is here. 2017 is here. And here is 2019. And if you take a look, we're in week 48, 49, which would be, I believe, right in the beginning of December, late November. And you see these cases spike way higher than any other year over the past 4 years for influenza-like illness in Texas. And then if you go back here and you take a look at 2020, you see it starts to kind of level off as here we are, week 14 of 13 of 2020. See, 2018, the flu activity or the ILI in Texas peaked in the end of January. Okay. Now let's pick South Carolina. Here we are, South Carolina. And if we scroll to the end here, look at this. Here is 2019. 2017 is the next closest year. 2018 is here. 2016 is down here in this blue line. Right around the 48th week of the year, South Carolina started their peak. Here we are. See? Now we're going to scroll back. It's much higher than ever before. We're going to scroll back here. 2020 is here in blue. And here we go. We have a little valley here. Then it peaks up as soon as the media coverage starts in with the Wuhan virus. You see it peak up again, and then it goes down and then up again as things really started heating up. And now here we are, the 13th week in South Carolina, down low-ish, more close to normal. So what this means is this. Let me explain it for folks who don't know. If you go to the doctor in your state and you say, I've got a sore throat, I have a fever, I don't know what I have, the doctor says, okay, well, you fit the criteria for an ILI or an influenza-like illness. We're going to test you now to see if you have the flu, okay? So we're going to swab you, whatever we do. We're going to send those results off to a laboratory in our state. The laboratory is going to test and then give us the results and let us know whether or not you have influenza A, B, whatever variant it is, okay? So that's what this is a result of. Those labs report to the CDC. And the CDC does this every single year. They keep track of all the ILI, positive or negative, doesn't matter. Any ILI that fits the criteria is included in these charts. So when you're seeing this year, before COVID-19, coronavirus, Wuhan virus, whatever you want to call it, before it's known in the States, before it's even widespread in China, in quotes, when you're seeing the flu season or the ILI in the United States and certain states start to peak like this in 2019, when every other year is very mild compared to it, and we know now that we have this virus running rampant throughout the country, right? All the craziness that we've had to deal with because of it. You start looking at the data and thinking they didn't know what this was back then. They couldn't test for it. There was no test. There was no test for coronavirus back then that people were doing. So they're throwing out these tests looking for looking for flu, and they're getting back whatever, negatives, whatever they are, right? But they don't know what it is, but it still goes into these numbers. So this is what I'm showing you here, the states that had that. Now let's take a look at Washington. Somebody said my voice is annoying. That's the first time somebody has said that to me ever. Wow. Okay, Washington. Here we go. Washington State. Okay. Look at this. Here we are. I wish I could do this better. I gotta make it a little smaller. So here we are in Washington State, week 46. Here we are right here. Week 46, people started going to the doctor. Up it went, exponentially so, shooting up past any other documented ILI season in all of, thank you so much. Thanks, guys. In all of the past 5 years, right? 2016 is here. 2017 is here. 2018 is here. 2019, look at that, in Washington State. I would say it probably started week 45. Week 45 is November 9th. November 9th. Even if it was week 6, it was November 16th. So you're starting to see that in Washington State. Corresponds with when people were coming back from the military games in China. Just happens to correspond. And then you're seeing here, it peaks through week 1, takes kind of a nosedive, and then as soon as the first death is reported in Washington State, everybody rushes to the doctor and says, oh my gosh, I don't feel good. And that's why you see that big, huge spike. And now, here we are around week 13, 14, back to coming down to earth. Most of these spikes that I'm showing you last about 12 weeks or so, 8 to 12 weeks of a spike, almost exactly mirroring the typical the typical bell curve for a virus. Now let's take a look at New York City, okay? New York City. First, we're going to scroll all the way down here. 2019 is an orange, or yellow, sorry. So we started seeing an uptick above normal, 49, week 50, week 51, week 52. It's here in 2020, you see. It goes down a little bit. This is when they're all telling everybody it's okay to go out and hang out with your friends. Then it goes down to a low right here. This is before they closed school. And then all of a sudden, look what happens. Through the roof. Between weeks 12 and 13. Why is that? More testing, more people going to the doctor, more fear, any number of reasons. More sick people, could be any number of reasons. So what am I trying to say here? And I'm going to show you some other data in a second. What I'm saying is that there was an abnormally high spike in influenza-related illness in certain states way before COVID-19 was even a blip on the United States radar. Texas, Washington. You see this? It's very clear. This was actually something I put in here just because I was researching it and found it. Where this is the emergency room hospital visits for influenza-related illness. And if you can look here, weeks 48 through 52, the spike corresponds with the spike that they're seeing here. So that's an interesting data point as well. Now, South Carolina, you see it here. Same thing. Louisiana was interesting. Louisiana had their spike, 46, 47 or so, kind of tempered out a little bit, started back up again towards the end of the year. This blue line here picks up where it left off. If you look at 2020, it goes up, and then look at the spike. This is right around Mardi Gras. This is right after Mardi Gras right here. So I see everybody talking about Cynthia, and the chat is combined. All of my is combined with all of my socials, so it's hard to see. Somebody just said, okay, fine, but the models are not accurate. That's absolutely untrue, to be honest, because these models are not COVID models. These are not coronavirus models. These are models of influenza-like illness, not coronavirus. So this is happening. These reports that I'm showing you here in the end of last year, these are happening before anybody's testing for coronavirus at all. They don't even know about coronavirus. They're testing for flu. People are coming into the doctor sick with some kind of a viral illness. They're testing for flu. These are the reports of all the influenza-like illnesses that are reported in each state. This here is before we thought, or anyone thought, that COVID-19 was in the United States. What I'm trying to show you is that I feel like it actually really was. Really was. And my goodness, the trolls are out in full force today in the chat. Minnesota. Someone's asking for Minnesota. Let's take a look. Here's Minnesota. Yep. Look at that. Here we are. Week 50, Minnesota shoots through the stratosphere, right into the sky, up and away. And then we're going to go back and look at Minnesota now. And look at this. This is interesting. You're all over the place. Wowie. See? Here you are now. Now, Sanchez says, I dismiss all doubters as trolls. That's not actually who I was talking about. You have a point you'd like to bring up? I'd be happy to talk to it. What's the counterpoint you have? What counterpoint to this data do you have, Sanchez the Manchez? I'd be happy to address it. Anyone? No, I'm not talking about Cynthia being a troll. Geez, Cynthia is I think from Frank's chat. I'm just saying I can't find her messages in here, and everyone's talking about Cynthia, and I'm thinking she's trying to tell me something, but I can't find her messages in the chat because it's moving so quickly. That's what I was saying, Modus. Okay. Let's look at Nebraska just for argument's sake, because people are saying Nebraska. Nebraska was one of the states, by the way, because here. There we are. There's Nebraska. You guys had it pretty bad last year too, though. But look at that. There's Cynthia. I saw one of her messages. One of them. Sorry, Cynthia. Okay, let's take a look at... And here you are in Nebraska now, by the way. You guys are done. Looks like you're done. Now, what was the other state? North Dakota? Oh, I can't do Florida. I can't do Florida. I had Florida. Their data's gone. The Florida data is no longer there. Watch, I'll show you. See? I got nothing for you. North Dakota. Colorado. I might as well just go through all the states. You guys are all over the place. Here, let's do North Dakota. we are. Bloop. Yep. Look at that. Look at that. There's North Dakota. And then 2020 is here. You guys are like a and what I've been able to do, because remember, in this time period from weeks like 44 to 52, nobody in the United States thought that COVID-19 was here. So news reports weren't saying go get tested, go to the doctor if you have something, if you feel sick. It wasn't any of that, okay? So then when you start looking at 2020 here and you see these jumping data points, boom, 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 it's typically, I can equate those jumps, yes, to news reports, to reporting. It's very typical. And New Mexico. Here's New Mexico. See? This is not broken down by city. However, what I will tell you is that if you go to the CDC website and you go to their ILI Net State Activity Indicator here, you can click on each state and it brings you to their influenza surveillance activity reports, and you can scroll back to whenever you want and look at the weeks yourself to see. And Texas actually does a very good job of breaking down by county, etc., so on and so forth, what things are. Wisconsin. Legacy Rant, I know you. I know your name. I've heard you before. You're good stuff. Wisconsin. This somebody made for me. Somebody made this for me. And I can see if we can get it public so that you guys can search your own states. It will need to be updated, but I can see if I can get it public. Let's look at Wisconsin. Interesting. Not so bad. Not so bad in Wisconsin. Not so bad. And then let's take a look at 2020. Off to the races you go. Here. Now, here we go. Really quickly. New York City started this way later than anyone else did, even California. Let's look at California. Here's California. See, California started to spike up back in the winter. And then here they are now. And here we are this week. You're still not anywhere near normal flu, or normal flu season, I should say. But you're on your downward trend. And if you start counting the weeks, I'm telling you, you're going to see anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks between the period where you start going and where you start moving downward. Nevada, and then I'll do Louisiana again. Here's Nevada. Nevada was weird. Here it ends off 2019. And then 2020 is here. You got a lot of travelers, I'm sure. So there's Nevada. And let's see. Just to clarify what I'm doing, I'm not attempting to disprove anything. I'm attempting to show pretty solid evidence that this virus was in the United States of America and circulating amongst the population in November, as early as November of 2019. That is what I'm trying to do. I can't explain why Florida's data is missing. I can't. There are also 2 weeks in here where the CDC just wasn't providing complete reports. Not in this data set that I'm showing you, but another one. And just to give you an idea, I picked Texas to do this with because it was one of the states that I spent a lot of time on. So here we go. Some of the cases that you see in this graph here for Texas were positive influenza cases, but I'm going to give you the number of those specifically, okay? The large majority were negative for flu. For example, the weeks between 11/16 and 12/28, the CDC received information for 35,897 tests performed to identify the flu. Of those, only 10,471 were positive for any variant of the flu. So that means that 25,156 of those tests did not find flu virus of any variant. They weren't testing for COVID-19 during that time period. So let's see. I've got a request for Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Connecticut is here. Right on par back in wintertime. And just right before New York State starts, off you guys go to the races. Right around the third week of January, you guys shoot up. It was New York, Ohio. I'm sorry, Connecticut, Ohio. Wow. Come on, Tracy. For goodness sakes. Know your alphabet. Here we are. Ohio. You guys started later, 51 weeks or so. Up you go. And then here is 2020, where you're at right now, around 14 weeks. Alabama, Missouri. Let me just start going through all the states, okay? That's what we'll do today together. Alabama. Here we go. Here's Alabama. Oops. Ohio. Okay. Alabama, a little higher. You're higher than 2018 and 2016, but 2017 was higher for you guys. So I can't say it's an outlier. And then, wow, you guys have done fairly well. Fairly well. Here's 2020. This line right here. Anyone for Alaska? I don't want to leave Alaska. I don't want to do this for all 50 states. We'll be here forever. Let me just see. Okay. Michigan. Let's do Michigan. I haven't done Michigan yet. Here's Michigan. Thank you, Jeannie. I appreciate you. Thank you, True. I appreciate you. Here we go. Michigan. 2017 is this red line here. So 2019 is this yellow line. So it's right in the mean, sort of the average at the end of the year. And 2020 is here. So it looks like after the third week of January, you guys spiked up a little bit. But you guys are typically pretty crazy with flu around that time anyway. So Oklahoma. I'll do Arizona. Let's do Oklahoma and then I'll do Arizona. I'm going to have to start writing this down. Oklahoma. On par with the rest of the world or the rest of your state for at least 2017. It looks like 2017 was pretty nasty too. And then here. Again, not too crazy. And what was the other one? It was Oklahoma and Illinois. And I'm going to tell you again in a second where this data is pulling from, because it's available to every single one of you guys to look at if you'd like. Woo! All right. So 2017 went higher in the end of the year. 2019 is a little below that. And then here you guys are in Illinois. Way up there. Let's see. Tennessee. Hold on. I'm just looking back through the chat. Tennessee. No one's asked for New Jersey yet. We have no New Jersey people in here. Here's Tennessee. Wowie. Damn. Tennessee was sick at the end of the year. Tennessee was sick at the end of the year. That's for sure. And now 2020, you guys are getting back to normal. So let's count the number of weeks just to give you again. Let's see. We started here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 weeks right here. You see? I'm telling you. It's super interesting. Oh, Arizona. I said Arizona. Hold on. I'm writing this down so I don't leave anyone out. I feel horrible. I don't want to leave anyone out. Arizona. Colorado, New Jersey. Arizona. This is 2017. This is 2019. And this is 2020. Down here. And then Colorado. Now, what I'm working on now is comparing this to the number of positive coronavirus tests that are in these states. So let's look at Colorado. 2019 is here in Colorado. And then 2020 is up here. And now you're dropping. And New Jersey. Bear with me, folks. Pretty normal at the end of the year in New Jersey, just like New York, just like Connecticut, right? And then look at that. 2020. Right on the 9th week, which is, I believe it's in March. Shoot up through the stratosphere. Massachusetts. If I did one already, I'm not going to do it again. So if you guys want to scroll back, you can find out which one it is. Massachusetts was normal so the Northeast is late, right? Here's the Northeast. Here you go. See? Here you are. So, look. This is the bottom line. And this is hard data. This data comes from, if you go to the CDC website, you can download this. You could download this as a massive spreadsheet. Here it is. Massive spreadsheet. And then the genius that helped me with this converted that massive spreadsheet into the charts. You can do this as a bar chart too. I just like the plotting of this better. But if you look at this for Washington, for instance, there's Washington. Do you see? Someone's asking if you have to pay. No, you don't have to pay. Thanks, Donna, for the super chat. You don't have to pay. It's free. It's all available to you for free. Let's look at Pennsylvania. And then I'm going to do a summary real quick of what I'm saying here, just in case you are unaware. Same sort of trend as the rest of like the northeastern cluster of states, I'll call them. You were above, but not in a crazy, crazy way. And then in comes 2020. And it looks like you guys, at least from week to week, it's been lower, probably, or maybe because nobody's going out. No one's going to the doctor. So here's the deal. Every year, people go to the doctor and they say, I don't feel good. And the doctor says, well, what are you feeling like? And the doctor says, well, you have a fever greater than 100. You have a sore throat. And there's no other illness that would explain why you feel the way you do. So you have an influenza-like illness. We're going to take a swab and send this off to the lab. They take the swab, they send it off to the lab. The lab reports to the CDC how many tests they got from what state, what county, whatever, how many of them were positive, for what variant, how many of them were negative, how many of them didn't show anything. Okay? And then the CDC updates their website with that information every week. They put out a report. And then you can go to the CDC website and you can download that data. So that's what we did. And then we put the data into this chart. What I wanted to see is because of all of the people that were saying that they were sick, sicker than they'd ever been before, sick with something their doctors couldn't figure out what it was, sick with, pneumonia that they couldn't figure out, or that they were sick and they went to the doctor and they were tested and they got negative results on their flu exams, right? This was back in November, before doctors, anybody was paying any attention to whether or not, to coronavirus. It just wasn't here. It wasn't especially not November, it wasn't in the news here, okay? In November, it wasn't in the news. So you're going to the doctor. The doctor says, well, this is weird. It's some viral illness. Don't know what it is. Upper respiratory infection. I don't know. Whatever. Pneumonia. You got pneumonia from a flu or whatever. You got pneumonia. Viral pneumonia. Don't know why. Nobody was equating it to coronavirus. And they were sending these specimens off to be tested for the flu. And they were all coming back. Some of them were positive for the flu. Some of them were negative for the flu. Had no idea what that was. What I'm trying to demonstrate here is that there was an abnormally high and early spike in influenza-like illnesses being reported in several states across the country. Some way worse than others. And this was back in November. Now we have New York City, who is tracking with this same spike, but now in March instead of back in November, December. And the entire country is taking a look at what the heck is going on in New York and acting as though it's the entire country, when this data is showing there is a very strong possibility in states like Washington, Texas, Iowa, Idaho, whatever ones we looked at, where you saw a 12-week rise and fall in the reporting of influenza-like illnesses, that those states could have made it through the curve already. They could have had this. They could have fought it off. Some people, I'm sure, likely were hospitalized. You can get those data points too. It just became too overwhelming for me. I wanted to kind of focus on certain verticals of it rather than flood everybody with all of it at once. That they already had this. It already went through. They've already come down for it. And I can almost guarantee when we start doing antibody testing that these folks will show antibodies for COVID-19 who maybe were sick in November and December. So that's what I'm saying, is that this was probably in the United States as early as the beginning of November, and from there spread. So that's what the purpose of the article was. Now, it just so happens that the military World Games were being played in Wuhan, China, October 18th through 27th of 2019. And it also just so happens that a major travel hub for chartered flights for the military originating from Pacific countries and traveling to the United States arrive and depart from Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. If you look at the timeline where we start seeing people going to the doctor, seeing they're in Washington, saying that they're sick, and elsewhere, saying that they're sick with these viruses. It just so happens to line up with the incubation period and reporting of COVID-19's specific info that we know about it. It also just so happens that the states that had early flu activity, in quotes, are states where there's large presence of military members. The southern states here. It just so happens. California, Washington. Just so happens. Now, I'm not saying that this is the reason. I'm just saying that it's pretty interesting. That's all. Now, someone said, why haven't the experts figured this out? And I say, that's a great question. I asked that myself because I'm using their data, and I don't know how you can look at data like this and assert anything other. They have allergies. They have this information, even more detail than I'm looking at it right now. So, I don't know. But I'd like to get this out there. I'd like for more people to take a look at it. I'd really like for more people to take a look at this. So I will talk with Eric, who's one of the gentlemen who helped me with this. He's a genius when it comes to data and stuff. And I'll see if I can make this public and we can keep it updated, and I'll stick it on the website, uncoverdc.com. And just so everybody knows, again, I'm thinking not that the military gave this virus to China like the Chinese idiots want you to believe, that they were in Wuhan and got it there where the Chinese couldn't get their hands on it, and whatever they did with it, whether it was purposeful or not, blah, 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 blah. And then brought it back home, not the other way around. I don't have a theory on any of the stuff with the wireless towers or anything. I have not even looked into it. I'm not even going to say anything else just because I haven't. I've been sent a gazillion articles and videos on it. I just haven't looked into it yet because I've been super duper swamped like crazy on a bunch of other stuff. But this is something I've been focusing on for far too long, in my opinion. I've been going over this data. So that's basically it. That's all I wanted to tell you guys today. Now, I have a couple things coming in the next week or two on Uncover DC. But I'm going to link this in the description box. Please share it far and wide if you find it valuable and interesting. I will work on trying to see if I can get this up on the website so that you guys can all go in and use it yourselves. And if you appreciate the work I do and you'd like to support me or Uncover DC, which are two separate entities, the article is linked on my Twitter account. Someone's asking. It's on my Twitter account, or you can go to uncoverdc.com. It will be the first one that comes up. You can go to patreon.com/TracyBeans with a Z. You can go to paypal.me/TracyBeans, or you can support Uncover DC on the Uncover DC website, whatever you feel more comfortable doing right now, if you even can. And there's a good chance you can't. And that's okay. That's okay. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening and for being so patient. And I will talk